All right, and we're live. Hello, everyone. It is North Texas week. UTSA takes or travels to Denton to take on North Texas. Big game this season. And yeah, we get to find out what UTSA is really made of. Obviously, UTSA coming off of a huge victory over Rice, 61-13. That was the get-right game. That's at least what I'm trying to tell myself right now. But yeah, UTSA versus UNT. Just got through watching a ton of UNT. That's why I'm a little late to this one. But yeah, loads and loads to talk about. Make sure you guys get your comments in. Let me make sure people know that I'm live here. Give me 1 second. We are live. Let me get this out to folks really quick. Yeah, I was so lost in watching some of these games and making notes that I freaking forgot to tell people I was going live. So let me get that in right now. All right, here we go. The link is now on the Twitter. Booyah. Anyway, yeah, back to this. So the first thing I want to do, as I do always for these previews, is I want to unpack and talk about what UNT will be bringing to the table. Guys, they're a balanced team. I just have to be very, very honest about that. It's one of the things that I put on Twitter earlier today from watching their tape. I've been watching them. I've watched as much. I've watched pretty much everything they've done this season, and they are, if not the most balanced I've seen a North Texas team offensively, even defensively. I like a lot of the things they're doing. And yeah, I haven't seen one like this. Now, obviously, the tape last week against South Florida, things just got out of hand for those guys in the second half. But when you think about how good South Florida was, they were punching, they were going blow for blow with those guys for, 3-ish, or not 3/4, 2 quarters and a half, kind of. So the wheels kind of fell off at the end of the game. But whenever you think about, how will a UTSA and a UNT game look like, it's going to be a tough one, folks. So the first thing I'll go through is, what will we see from UNT's offense? What I can tell you right now is they do a pretty good job of mixing up the run and the pass game. I think a little bit better than they have in years past, where, they were really, 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 really pass happy in years past. And I think they're still kind of pass happy now, but they have good running backs that could, take some to the crib. Their quarterback can hurt you with his legs, especially in the red zone. We've seen him do that quite a bit. They like the middle of the field. If you just look at if you break the field down in quarters, or not quarters, I'm sorry, in thirds, that middle third of the field. So you have between the numbers, and then you have, the right side of the field and the left side of the field. Between the numbers is where they do their work. So they like short middle a ton. Most of their volume is short middle. Even whenever they throw the ball deep, it's typically down the middle. They like to throw posts. They like to throw seams. They like to play action, and they like to hit their tight end. They scored a touchdown, I believe, against Western Michigan with a really beautiful play that was about, I want to say anywhere from 15 to 20 yards on the play action pass right up the middle with their tight end. So the middle of the field is going to be really, really important for UTSA to focus in on. It's going to be – they're going to ask a lot of questions of UTSA. I think one of the things that the runners have struggled with is tackling after the catch. I can tell you right now, they have receivers that's going to catch screens that can take that thing 50 yards. Trust me, go watch the tape. You can find that. That's something that they're gonna test UTSA on. They're gonna look at the tape and see, like, hey, UTSA has struggled against guys who have caught the ball and are really elusive. After the catch. I think it's just going to be something that's going to be really, really important for UTSA to key on, making tackles in the open field and being okay with the catch, not necessarily just trying to strip the ball, just get the guy on the ground. UNT will punish us if we do not tackle in the open field. If they catch the pass, we just need to make the tackle and live to play another down. We can't give them they like to take the top off, man. They like to do they've hit a lot of big plays this year. And some of those big plays have come from screens. Some of these big plays have come from their receiver just catching an intermediate route or intermediate pass, juking a defender, and then on the way into a touchdown. And some of them they just taking deep shots, and they scored on those too. So that's something you'll see. From a running back standpoint, they like to go with two guys, and they're both talented. They both can hurt you really bad. Like I said, they showed a sort of a wildcat formation also in the red zone that you'll see. I will say this: their red zone game is pretty nasty. I don't have the numbers in front of me in terms of how efficient it is, but just watching them, they are very creative in the red zone. So if they get the ball inside the 20, they are going to give you a lot of bunch formation to make those DBs and those linebackers who are out there covering those guys in those bunch sets. They're going to try to make those guys have to, figure out chess a little bit, right? Make them make decisions, make them be assignment sound and all those types of things. So that's something that they do really well. They're really good with misdirection in the red zone. Like I said, the quarterback has a couple of rushing touchdowns just because, some of the misdirection they've done and some of the read option stuff that they've done too. So they're well-balanced offense. Outside of A&M is going to be the best offense we'll see. They're going to be a lot more tricky than what we've seen at Texas or against Texas State. In terms of individual players, I think their quarterback's all right. He's done some really good things. I don't necessarily think that I don't know. He's had a good year. There's something about him though that is not clicking with me. But to be fair and objective, he's been solid. He can be rattled under pressure, so I hope UTSA is able to get some pressure on him. He can be rattled under pressure. If you look at his interceptions, that he was under pressure on those. Even the one of them he threw. When you think about McCown's bad interception he threw 2 weeks ago, now he threw an this quarterback for UNT threw an interception just like that, I believe against South Florida. So not perfect from that regard, but they're going to be tough to beat. Their offense is potent, and our defense is going to have to answer a lot of questions. I'll put it at that. In terms of what they do on defense, they're going to test McCown. There's just no way they're going to test McCown post snap or at the snap of the ball because they will roll into coverage really late on the play. So one of the things I've seen that they got an interception off of this, I believe, but they came out in sort of a 3 and they give a lot of looks on defense. So they can't there's one game they got an interception. It might have been South Florida or Western Michigan, one of the two. But it was a really nice interception, and they rolled. They came out in the 3-3-5. So that's three down linemen, 3 linebackers, and then they have 5 defensive backs on the field. And they were running a simple cover 2. And on the back side of that cover 2, which was very interesting, was you had sort of your nickel. You had your corners on the outside. You had your 2 safety, and you have a nickel back. That's sort of splitting the difference between where the corner and the safety is lined up. And on the snap of the ball, they flipped positions. So the deep safety came in and played curl to flat, and then that nickel rolled and played a deep half. So just things like that is something that Owen McCown is going to have to be weary of because they're going to disguise coverage. They do a really good job of disguising some of these coverages during the play instead of before and not giving you a tell of what they're going to be in. And sometimes they just play straight up as well. So they do. I did not see a ton of them in press man like we've seen some of these other teams have been. They do like to run some 2-man under. They give you some 2-man under looks where they'll press on the outside, but that slot guy they'll play that slot guy off. Where we've seen recently, in some of these games where you had press man across the board, slots included. So that's a risky thing to do. North Texas doesn't do a lot of that. At least I haven't seen it yet. But they do have a lot of do a lot of 2-man under. and have those safeties kind of aggressive, looking to trigger on runs and things like that. So they do some things defensively that we're going to have to, sort of figure out. They brought in this new coordinator. He's definitely mixing it up. You'll see 3 down linemen, you'll see 4 down linemen, you'll see a 5-2 come out there if it's a short yardage situation, and that type of thing. So they do a lot of stuff. They're going to get a lot of looks defensively, they're going to give our offense a lot of different looks, and we're just going to have to be able to execute against it. I'll tell you this, Burke is going to earn his money this week. He's going to have his work cut out for him against North Texas. They're a good team. There's just no other way to spin it. The thing about UTSA is, like, can UTSA muster up what they did last week against Rice and bring some of that to this week, right? So, like, what I mean by that is, like, yes, UNT is miles better than Rice, right? I understand Rice is not making any runs for a conference title at all, right? However, I thought that beyond just what we got from Rice, I thought UTSA just played better. Our defense has been trending upward, but the way they were hitting and the physicality they showed against Rice, if they bring that to the table, you got a completely different team. If they come in with that kind of vigor and that sort of and that kind of stuff in their neck that just has them hungry to go out and smack people in the mouth, that's going to change the game. You've seen all those guys hunting and fighting for the ball every single play and getting rewarded for it, right? UNT, they've had some fumbles, they've had some interceptions. It's not foreign for them to give the ball away. So, I expect defensively they're going to be under a lot of pressure because UNT has a really good and potent offense. But at the same time, I expect them to sort of answer the bell and say, hey, listen, we're a team with championship pedigree and things like that. Not necessarily on the defense because a lot of those guys are new. But, Coach Traylor has built a winning program, and it's time to really show what they can do. So, you just hope that UTSA answers the bell in this particular game. I will start with some of your questions here. Make sure you guys get your questions and comments in. Mike says we need to run the ball and continue to play physical defense. Shout out to Mike here. He says UNT will score, but our defense must bend but not break. Turnovers will be crucial, and I think ultimately we will be the difference. That's a really good point. I think turnovers will be a big deal in this game. I think one of the things too you got to just really think about is not only just the turnovers, takeaways. I like to call them takeaways because I'm defensive minded, and we don't like to. I say takeaway because the defense is taking the ball away. It's not the offense turning it over. That's just how when you talk to defensive guys, they say take away more than they say turnover. Anyway, I just went on a tangent there. But I think the thing that's most important, though, about just getting a takeaway is what do you do after that? So against a team like UNT, UTSA can't just take the ball away. They have to take the ball away and score. And score. Not field goals, touchdowns. If you want to beat a team like this, with a potent offense like this, and a team that's filled with that much confidence that UNT is, they're a very good team and they deserve everything they're doing. They've done a really good job. But if we want to make a statement against a team like that and go in and beat a team like that at their home, when we get takeaways, we have to take advantage of that with points. Too many times, we get in some of these games, sometimes we get takeaways and we don't put points on the board. That can't happen this weekend, or we won't win the game. So when we do get those opportunities where they may go for it on the 4th down and we get a turnover on downs, or, we get off the field on a key 3 and out, or on a key 3rd down or something like that, we have to punish them. They are going to score a lot. It's not even like I'm not being like a Debbie Downer or anything. You go watch the tape and tell me they're not going to score against our defense. But what I'm saying is, like, obviously the defense is going to have to make plays on their own. But I've said this 1,000 times over and over and over when people come in here and they talk about Jess Lepp, the defensive coordinator. We've seen his defense look good, and his defense has always been, but they punish you. We seen them punish a lot against Rice, right? That was sort of an anomaly because they did a lot of punishing that game. But in general, we can get off the game. Historically we've been able to get off the field on third down, and we've been able to be a team that creates a lot of takeaways. And if we get a couple against UNT, the offense can't sputter. The offense cannot sputter. This is going to be a real test of like, hey, all right, this is conference play. This is big time ball. Guys, we have to play in unison with all three phases helping out each other. And that is, getting off the field. Offense needs to have some longer sustainable drives so the defense can get a breather, and then they're not out there playing all day. So it's going to be a really crucial balance. But yeah, those takeaways, they have to make sure they take advantage of those. It's going to be really important in this game. Mike says we need to let Henry and Henderson keep eating the clock with long drives. That's exactly my point. We have to establish the run game. Listen, they want to take the top off against us, y'all. They had a big crowd. They had a big outing. They played in front of a lot of people last week. They're really excited about that. There are people that are really excited about that team. UTSA is going to be a game where we're going to travel well. There's going to be a good amount of people at that game. At least I hope it is. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere, and they're going to want to take the top off of it. They're going to want to take the top off of UTSA. How do you counteract that, right? You run the football. So last week we seen against Rice. Remember how up tempo we was in the beginning of the game? We were running no huddle. We was getting back to the line. We was not allowing them to substitute, all those types of things. In this game, got to be a little different. Got to tweak it a little bit. We want to keep the ball a little bit longer, So yeah, I agree with this wholeheartedly. Batfoy says our DBs need to step up if we want a chance against you. That's absolutely correct. They're going to be tested in a multitude of ways. They're going to be asked to tackle quite a bit in open space. They're going to be asked to defend passes deep downfield. They're going to be asked to shed blocks on screen plays. I think that's a big people don't understand how much for a defensive back, cornerback specifically, how much time you spend shedding blocks. Because, I just think about how much time we spent on that back when I was playing at UTSA, because we entered a conference with all these spread teams. And guess what all these spread teams does? Just like we do. They do screens on the outside. They do screens on the perimeter, and you got to shed blocks and maintain your leverage and then go in and make a tackle. UTSA hasn't been great at shedding blocks this year, only on the perimeter. Been okay, but not perfect. But they're going to be asked to do that in this particular week in a multitude of ways. They're just going to have to be playmakers, y'all. They're going to give up passes. They're going to give up catches. But are we going to punish them? That's the thing. If a quarterback throws an interception to a corner who is showing that he's aggressive, that quarterback is going to think twice before throwing it over there again. And that's all. It's always been that way. It's always going to be like that. No matter what the play caller calls, it's always going to be like that, because that corner is going to know that guy punished me for throwing the ball a little short, or this guy punished me for telegraphing where I was going with the ball too early. So our DBs are gonna have to be on point, bro. Steven says, "How dare you root for UTSA to give UNT their second loss?" I really, really hope that we are able to do that. The tricky thing about this game, and I put this tweet out there earlier this week as well, y'all, is, and I love to hear from you guys on this as well, is let me put UNT to the side for a bit. I am perplexed, and I am sort of in this rough spot where, is UTSA closer to the team we've seen against Rice, or are they closer to the team we've seen against Temple? What do y'all think? Because to me, that was two different teams. It's two different teams. I know Coach Traylor is still like holding on to this, like, oh, we played well against Temple. I watched that game. I mean, listen, I like I said, I wish I had the end zone copies, but I watched that game back multiple times, and I just don't think it. I don't think it was a great performance from UTSA. Anyway, that's not neither here or there. Penalties have been a problem again this season, and this is like me excluding this Rice game. Penalties have been a problem. Offensive inconsistency has been a problem. Driving the ball downfield has been a problem. The run game has been excellent, but the run game has been the most consistent thing that we've seen on offense all season. You know, them and the offensive line from a run blocking perspective. I actually think they've run blocked every game very well, including Temple, even though the stats wouldn't tell you that. They ran. I mean, I think Coach Traylor came back and said that too. The run blocking was still really good against Temple. We could have done more. I think we should have ran the ball more. But anyway, what I'm kind of trying to figure out is like what team. I still don't know UTSA's identity this season. We're 6 games in, and I'm like, I cover this stuff from a UTSA perspective just as much as anybody. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to JJ's and things like that. He's at the practices all the time. I don't do that. But from a gaming standpoint, I've watched all these games over and over and over and over again, just trying to understand who UTSA is as a team at this point in time. And I still don't know who they are. I would be curious to hear from you guys. I still don't know who they are yet. And I want to find out. I think, listen, I can tell you this. UNT is going to expose who they are regardless. And what could that mean? The word, don't associate me saying expose with meaning that like, oh my God, we're going to lose. No, not saying anything like that at all. What I'm saying is, when I say expose in this context, it's like they are going to force us to step up or we'll get embarrassed. And what I have seen is like UTSA is kind of played to its competition each game. Not last week, but that's kind of been what they've done. And I expect them to do that at the weekend. But like, what would that mean if UTSA goes and, you know, gets a win against North Texas and Denton? This North Texas team in Denton. This is a good North Texas team. This is a lot better than the ones that we've seen. I think we've won the last 4. I want to say 3 or 4. This is a lot. This one is a lot better than we've seen in quite some time. So I don't know. We're gonna find out. I don't. And this is probably me putting my orange tinted glasses on, and letting my biases creep in. I really, really want to believe that what we've seen at Rice was a turning point, and this is what we're going to see going forward. We're going to step up. McCown's going to look good. The defense is going to start flying everywhere, and we're going to do this against better teams. But there's 5 games before that would suggest that we aren't there yet. Against a team that's rolling like UNT is. So I'd be curious to hear from y'all though. Like, which team do you think UTSA is? I wish I should. This is what I need a moderator for, because I put a poll in the chat just to see where people's at on that. But yeah, is UTSA closer to what we've seen against Rice or Temple? ATX says happy with how UTSA took care of Rice, but that doesn't excuse the slow start of the season. If they can beat UNT, then I'll be convinced this team is truly recovering. I mean, yeah, I think if they beat UNT, then they can beat anybody. Maybe, I don't know about South Florida. I don't know if anybody's beating that team in the American, but yeah, I mean, if they do show themselves against UNT in a way that we'd hope so, that to me would signify that like Traylor has to figure out his slow starts to seasons because it's not necessarily we played one team in non-conference that should have beat us, and that was Texas A&M. Everybody else, you know, but the performances just haven't been great. So I think in general he has to figure that out. But if we start to really turn a corner now, I'll be over the moon if we do that. But yeah, these slow starts are alarming. I will say this too. I feel like this game is a lot more important than I think people realize. And the reason I say that is because we have a really difficult stretch with UNT Saturday, South Florida after that, and then Tulane after that. Guys, that's tough. That's a tough 3 games. That's a really, really difficult 3 games. And they're all losable games. They're all games that you can look at. Like right now, no one's going to pick us over these 3. We're not favored to beat any 3 of those teams, right? And that worries me because what if we go out there and not perform and lose against UNT? We could be 3-6 real quick, and that's a dangerous place to be in because you'll have pressure at the end of the year to beat what do we have? Charlotte, ECU, and then Army to end the season. That'll be tough because you'd have to win those 3 essentially to make a bowl game and to salvage the season in some way, shape, or form. And who's to say ECU's not bad? Army's never going to be bad. It's always going to be a tough game for us. Charlotte, we should beat Charlotte. But I look at that schedule and I combine this with me trying to figure out who UTSA actually is. And it just highlights how important this game is on Saturday. Because things could really, really go downhill from here. I don't think anyone's going to bat an eye if we, losing to South Florida, considering what they've become. But UNT, Tulane, these are the tough games we got to win to really, really stake our claim in the conference as a team that's relevant, that's, to be trifled with, so on and so forth. So this is a really, really big game this weekend, y'all. Shout out to Will Henderson. He says games could go either way the rest of the season. Yeah, they could go either way for sure. I hope that's what I hope. And I think Rice, seeing them perform in that way, I expected to beat Rice, but seeing them perform and blow them out in that way gave me a little bit more confidence that okay, they are actually somewhat what we thought they were coming into the year. We just got to be. That was the first game where we played well in all 3 phases. So are we building towards something? That's the thing. Are we building towards something? I hope so. But North Texas is going to be tough. And yeah, we got to do our thing against those guys this weekend. Jason says, nowadays, I'm glad all those running backs left. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, listen, I can't say that about Brandon High. I thought Brandon High was good to me. He was a really, really good back. I'm curious to see what he's doing now. I know he has started a bit for Cal, but let me see if he's curious to see what his numbers are. Let's see. Oh man, he has not played much. I think he started week 1, but he hasn't played much since. In the last game he played last week or 2 weeks ago? He only had 1 carry. That's unfortunate. I thought, yeah, he's a really good player. What about Kavorian Barnes? I think it was time. Kavorian Barnes, he needed a change though. I'm just curious to see what his numbers are at TCU right now. He's 49 carries, 285 yards a touchdown. 5.8 yards a carry. He's not playing bad. I know he got injured. Okay, so he's back now. Ooh, he's playing well for them, y'all. Whew. Yeah, in four games, yeah. They're like an old Kavorian. Yeah, the games he's played in, he's balled. Shout out to Kavorian Barnes there. Anyway, yeah, listen, I love the running backs we got though. I mean, it was really nice seeing Will Henderson Jr. get loose like that. I've been waiting to see his speed. Just like, I mean, we've seen it obviously, but yeah, it was good to see him get loose. I know he got nominated and maybe won a couple awards or something like that this week. I think I like to see Robert Henry get going, but I just like the 1-2 punch that we have home run hitters. I mean, that's sort of a new wrinkle that I like. I like this running back coach. I like the way their carries are split. I know some people are calling for more Robert Henry, but I'm like, bro, I like the yin and yang that these guys have, you know, and I also think Will Henderson is just getting better, getting more comfortable playing. So I like both of them. We got really good backs. And we got an O line that's blocking really well for him. Do you think USF will beat UNT twice? I am confused by this one. They play twice? No, that can't happen, right? Do you mean like in the conference title? I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. Will they be there? Because the South Florida play Navy? I'm sure they do. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, if they do play twice, UNT's not beating them. Go back and watch that game. It's pretty clear who the better team was, but yeah, UNT won't beat that. Won't beat that team. Cody says it cannot be understated. Biggest game of the year. Can't wait. I hope UTSA shows up like they did last week. Certainly the biggest game of the season. It feels like every game is going to be the biggest game of the season for UTSA. I mean, this is what you want from college football, but I think Traylor needs a signature win like this. I think UTSA needs a win like this to really jumpstart this season. I mean, I know I'm saying that 6 games in, but we just need that. You know, I think we need that. I think UTSA. I don't. Here's the thing right now. It's like there is a large subset of people who were very loud about UTSA coming into this season, and they've quieted a lot. A lot of folks have lost interest. A lot of folks shunned away the game against Rice last week. It's like it's Rice. Who cares? This would get people back interested if they pulled off a win like this. This would get people back saying, okay, I'm back on the bandwagon. Let's go. And you're going to have fans like this. You don't tell people how to fan, but you're going to have things like that. So, yeah, this is a huge game. I think it's going to really signal what UTSA is going to be able to do for the rest of the season. It's also going to signal if we'll make a bowl game or not. I mean, there is a reality in this, too, where we get blew out here. I mean, you don't want to think about that reality, but it's a possibility. And what happens, like what goes on when that happens? I mean, UTSA has generally had recruiting preference over UNT for a while now. And I just don't know if you want that group starting to make up the ground and closing that gap. I think about recruiting, just momentum, some of the things that they've done, some of the changes they've made to coordinators and how they've been willing to make changes, and they are benefiting from those changes in a major way. Yeah, I worry about that. I think the biggest thing that worries me a little bit And y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think about this here. But what I struggle with the most, I was actually talking to the folks at Sport News, and I haven't done a lot for them over the last 4 weeks, but I got a little bit of a better deal, so I'm going to do a little bit more things with them here in a bit. But I was talking to some sports guys today, not necessarily Sport News, but some folks around, and they were asking me questions about UTSA, and they asked about Traylor, and a lot of folks are asking me the question of, is his time over? Is he done? And whenever I get asked that question, to me, it's not necessarily about like wins and losses in terms of if it's time to move away from somebody. Now, I want Traylor to stay just myself in general whenever I think about this, because he brought championships to our program, and he set a standard in our program that's amazing. So my personal preference is I want him to stay as long as we can have him, and I think we're lucky to have him still to this day. So I don't want him going nowhere. But the one thing I struggle with when you think about these sorts of things is, well, how do you start to measure coaches against each other? And if you have a coach who are in a similar conference or in the same conference, and both coaches have went through some sort of adversity, or they've been sort of at the same level, you have to, at that point, take a snapshot in time and think about, okay, where are these coaches at now relative to, where they, their last 3, 4, 5 years. And then when you look at like I use North Texas coach or whatever, and what they've done, like they made some changes and they're reaping the benefits. They look like a completely transformed program. I mean, I remember talking to Miles, shout out to Miles with UNT. I remember talking to him, and like we were talking about, he was telling me like 6 wins or something like that. He'd be happy with that. But I guarantee you, if you ask him today, he'd be like, yeah, if we don't win 8 or 9 games, that'll be a problem based on what they've shown. So it just shows you what that team has done, right? And you even look at some of the stuff Texas State has been able to do. I know people hate the comparisons and stuff there, but like look at what they've been able to do with their coach. And some of the changes they've made. Now I know they've fallen sort of behind, and they're struggling right now as well. And their coach is under a lot of pressure as well. But like you kind of have to survey the landscape and look at like what are other people doing with what they have. And I know some, there's a discussion on who has what resources and all these other things. But I look at the names that Traylor is sort of around, and a lot of those guys are starting to turn it around or have at least put themselves in a position to where there's no real questions on if they're going to make a bowl game this season or if they're going to compete for a conference title. Whereas UTSA seems to, and people keep reminding me of this, but since we moved to the American, it has been a decline each year relative to like where we were at our highs. And I hope this doesn't result in a decline, but if it does, that worries me a little bit. Not me personally, because I just believe in that coach in general. I believe in Coach Traylor in general, but I just think it's interesting that people are starting to ask these questions, and I am having to think about the way I answer those questions a lot differently than I have in the past. Charles Tennyson says, I see our linebackers getting an ENT because their quarterback, for what I saw, don't seem to think he's passes through. He looks more like a gunslinger to me. Oh, I see our linebackers getting an interception because their quarterback, from what he sees, don't seem to think his passes through. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, they throw a lot over the middle of the field. They certainly do that. I don't like his throwing motions, so I understand what you mean by the gunslinger, the gunslinger comment here. I feel like the linebackers can get things done, but if you go back and look at some of the games earlier this season, he's relatively safe with the ball. Um, they will have some opportunities though. They will have some opportunities though. I'll tell you this: Shy Banks anywhere around the ball is going to be a problem. We should be able to create takeaways against this team, especially if we're getting pressure in this quarterback's face. He will throw he'll take some chances. He'll take some chances. So there's going to be opportunities to take the ball away. We just got to take them away. That's a big what's name. Like I said, he likes to throw the ball in the middle of the field for the most part between the numbers. Our linebackers, as Charles is highlighting here, our linebackers will have opportunities. Our safeties will have opportunities to make plays on the ball. We got to make those plays, and whenever we do make those plays, as I said earlier, we have to score. We have to score. Mike says, I think the win versus Rice was good for the team. It seemed like a great confidence booster that hopefully carries them into multiple game win streak. I hope so. That's what you want from wins like that. You want it to be something that starts it to be the start of something. It can be. Listen, I got some interesting messages about my take on the Rice win. If you haven't seen that video, I posted it. I posted that video on Monday. But my take was, in general, I like that UTSA finally had a game where they proved to themselves this is who we probably should have been all season. Now, what do you do with that? Because you got to prove all before. I just ask everybody here in some way, shape, or form in life has accomplished something. And in order to accomplish some hard objective or project or goal that you had, at some point you've had to believe in yourself that you can pull that off. And in some of those situations, if we asked you on day one on that thing you accomplished, if you thought you were going to do something well, or you thought you were going to complete that project, you probably would have been like, no, I was scared. I didn't think I could do it, so on and so forth. But as you put that work in, at some point you looked yourself in the mirror and said, oh, I can do this. And then it became a little easier to complete that project or that accomplishment. Well, I'm hoping that is what this is for UTSA. I cannot keep my biases in check, so I'm going to say that is what this is going to be until another game proves me otherwise, and that could be this weekend. But I'm going to stick with that. I think UTSA needed a victory like this. The coaching staff needed a victory like this. Everyone can exhale, and hopefully these guys are going to be comfortable enough to not go in with a lot of pressure and go in to Denton and try to take those guys out. Going to be very tough. That is a very good team, but I'm going to rock with it, bro. I'm going to rock with it. Case says Temple coach called out their manhood and they want to be there during the halftime. They came out and wanted them more the second half against us. Yeah, I mean, that just can't happen, And you got to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. Like, a lot of the times, like, great teams, the thing about great teams, y'all, is like teams who win championships, teams who are consistently good. It's not because they go and beat the juggernaut every single year. That's not what gets them the status. What gets them the status is if there's a team that they have an advantage over, they don't slip up. They don't slip up. They might slip up in a 50-50 game or a team against a team better than them, but beating teams that are not better than you is really the name of the game. And you can tell me what you want to tell me, but like us losing to Temple, prime example of losing to a team we had no business losing to. Listen, I know they were good at some things, but that team UTSA should have beat that team. Say the same thing about North Texas, or not North Texas, about Texas State, but that's a harder one to sell considering how they did us last year. But yeah, you got to come out and beat those teams, man. Kay says, I would love to see AJ Wilson play slot like Josh Cephas did, big receiver going over the middle or down the field, and stretch those safeties down the field with tight ends or Devin running crosses. Yeah, I don't think he's that type of receiver though. I think he is your traditional outside receiver that's going to give you good comebacks, who's going to run a post well, who's going to run a fade ball well. And I think that's where you put him. That's the type of guy he is. He's his play style, his profile is more like JT Clark than it is Joshua Cephas. That's why they have him sort of playing that same role. So, yeah. Jason says, it seems like we've gone away from utilizing our tight ends. Maybe not completely, but I just feel like they got used way more in past year. Yeah, I mean, we're not utilizing our tight ends as much as I thought we would. And I don't know what that's about, to be completely honest. It's surprising, to be fair. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I think the one thing for UTSA nowadays, I mean, we're out on the edge a lot. Even the tight ends are out on the edge. Yeah, I don't know. Just different strokes for different folks. It's a different philosophy. We're trying different things. But yeah, we aren't using our tight ends as good as much as I thought. And I think Houston Thomas, I think our tight ends, I mean, all of them, Thomas, Dan Dishman, Patrick Overmeyer, they're some of our best players, you know? Like, that's the fun. Like, they're top players on this team, in my opinion. I mean, they all got single digits for a reason, right? Yeah, I'd like to see more to them if we could. Mike says, we need to finish the season strong and salvage recruiting. The loss to Texas State hurt. Adding a loss to UNT would not be good. Yeah, we're not in a good position right now, but we could dig ourselves out of it with a win this weekend. It's going to be a really, 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 really tough game to win. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be a really tough game to win. While I'm going to wrap up here in a second, but if y'all could let me know your score predictions in the chat here before I give you mine. I'm just curious what folks here are thinking about the score and who'll win, by how much, and so on and so forth. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get some comments in on, or get your score predictions in, and then we can go from there. ATX says, by lose twice, I meant, do you think the loss UNT had against USF will affect them mentally and assist UTSA in winning? Okay. No, I actually don't think. I don't think. I mean, listen. Yeah, that's a fair question. Coming off a loss, those guys just gonna want to come back out there and like get back in the driver's seat. That's what they're gonna want to do. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. I think they smell blood in the water with us in general, and they probably feel like, you know what, this is a team that we can get at. So I'd be more. I would say yes if UTSA was like firing. If this was a 50-50 game and I thought UTSA was as good right now as UNT, I'd probably say, well, yeah, like UNT will probably slip up. But like sometimes a team will go in a game and know it's going to be tough, but know that they have something on the other side that's going to get them back right. They're going to be looking at us like that right now because we haven't proven. You know, UTSA hasn't proven that they're a power team right now in the conference, and UNT is doing that. So, yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one. I don't think them losing last week is gonna have any meaningful impacts on anything, to be completely honest. Um, Before I wrap here, I want to just give you guys that a couple of things that I want to think about. Like going back to this, UNT is obviously trajectory is going up. UTSA right now seems to have sort of a flat trajectory, and we're staying exactly where we are. I hope that we come out and show ourselves very well against this team because, like I said earlier, you got UNT, South Florida, and Tulane in in deadlock in the center of the season, in in a pivotal time when the conference is going to be decided. These games matter. They matter a lot more than those non-conference games. And I worry about the supporters and the program and things like this. If stuff starts to slide again, you think things get toxic now? Just imagine what would happen if we slide against these teams. Can't happen. If I'm being honest, I don't want it to happen. What will be the key decider of the game? I will say, I think whose defense is going to show up? Because to be fair, their defense got embarrassed last year. I don't care which or last week. 63 points is crazy. I don't care how good South Florida is. 63 points is crazy. So our defense has been sort of on a roll. If they continue that against UNT, it's going to make for an interesting game. And UNT, I think the key thing for us is if UTSA can score early, like not even if they're returning the favor, right? Just make sure that offense is their opposing offense is under pressure. Score early, make sure they're under pressure, and then see how the chips fall. But like, make their offense feel the pressure, but their defense too, because the defense can break early if they're coming off a 63-point, because then you'll have the coaches starting to pull people and all types of stuff. If our offense gets going quick and early with some long drives, the game will get very, very interesting. It will get very, very interesting if that happens. And last thing, too, before I wrap up, I see we got Mike says 34-27. Will Henderson says 28-35. I'm thinking about something the same. I'm going to go UTSA 37-31. Yeah, 37-31. That's wishful thinking, but I'm going to go for it. I'm going to stick with it. But one of the things I want to look at too is I'm interested to see the battle between the supporters. I think the supporters for UNT and UTSA go at it pretty well on Twitter, and I just know it's going to be chaotic afterwards. So shout out to all of you guys who participate in all of that, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. We got to win this one. Shout out to my man Nick coming in with a late live chat. He says a player said that last year's team was stat chasing. I can see how that would affect a quarterback to deliver on. How does that affect the locker room? A player said that last year's team was stat. Nick, do you mean a UTSA player? A player said this? Which team are we talking about? I'm assuming you're talking about UTSA, and I would love to. Okay, UTSA. That's interesting. A player. By the way, thanks for the super chat. No one's under any obligation to do those, but I really, really appreciate them when you guys do them. So shout out to my man Nick. Special shout out to that. So for UTSA player said that last year's team was stat chasing. That's interesting. So first off, yes, people stat chasing is a thing. Like all these guys stat chase, but it's not like any individual player is going to want to have crazy stats, and it honestly helps because you get the ball to a receiver, he wants to get as much yardage as he can. He's not going to drop it, and he's probably going to do something with it when he gets it. Quarterbacks, I don't think McCown is the kind of person that would like stat chase like for real. But I will say it can, if the locker room feels that is happening too much, it can unsettle guys. Because that would be them putting their individual accolades above the team's goals. I hope that's not happening, but it could create unrest amongst folks if that does happen. And it's not something that's ever going to like totally disrupt a locker room, but it could disrupt, small pockets, a position group or something like that. Those types of things happen all the time. I've seen them firsthand. Mike says UNT fans had parents who took Tylenol and they were babies. There it is already. Shout out to Mike. He says, our offense looked amazing. I wonder what changed. Did Traylor take over the play call? No, he didn't. Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question. He did not take over. I have not watched any of Traylor's I've had a busy week. I have not watched any of Traylor's interviews this week. I don't know if he spoke on it, but I can guarantee you he didn't call one play. He probably always has the play sheet. But even if he doesn't have the play sheet and it was a change or something in the way he has a play sheet, he's not going to make any. No, he didn't call the offense. The offense, like I said, I think I said this before on my last video, the offense wasn't really that much different. We chose to do things in different times. Like, for example, like taking a deep shot, I think on the second play of the game, we weren't really doing things like that, and we connected on it. But everything just worked. Like, we did our normal plays, they just worked. And I know people are talking about, oh, we didn't do as many screens. Look at how we're being defended. You can't do screens the way that some of these teams were defending us. You can't do that at a high clip because they're lining up literally to take it away. So, yeah, I mean, we'll just see what UNT comes out and shows. But no, Traylor didn't take over play calling. Nick says that makes sense. I was thinking due to McCown's personality, he seems like a people pleaser purpose. Yeah, he probably is, but it's hard to they're gonna call a play. He's not going to switch up a read or target someone specifically for a stat, unless there's some obvious thing where typically it'll come from the OC. Because the players got to make the read and the play based on what the OC calls. So anytime there's a stat chasing thing, you blame the coordinator, not necessarily the QB, which in the NFL, they have a little bit more autonomy to make their own decisions. But so you can see there's definitely stat chasing in the NFL. They talk about it all the time because there's incentives tied to some of their bonuses. So there's been plenty of stories where I know Tom Brady was talking about him doing a check. He checked to a route for Gronkowski to catch a little out in the out so he can get his bonus that was like $1 million or something like that. Aaron Rodgers has done that for folks. A lot of folks have talked about those sorts of things, but we don't have those kind of incentives in college football. So I don't think too much of that stuff is happening. And I don't think McCown has the leverage to do anything like that, even if he wanted to. Anyway, yeah, I'm going UTSA. I know it's probably me with my orange tinted glasses, but I'm going UTSA 37-31. We'll see where the chips may fall. It's going to be a tough game, but we're going to need everybody's support for that game. I'm going to be supporting. I'm probably going to do a live chat. I might just do the second half, but make sure you guys follow me on X because I'll tweet out what I'm going to do for the live chat. Anyway, birds up. Let's hope for a win this weekend. See you guys. Peace.